makes a lot of sense in this case because he had such a bad first game that he wants to extend the games, practice playing some consistent chess, which is what he's known for. He really doesn't. That first game was a bit uncharacteristic. That was a real blowout, and I think that mainly happens when Wesley plays Magnus. And
Right.
so I think it's going to be a confidence builder to see himself up a pawn, to see himself in end games where he's playing a two-result a game where he can win or draw. I think that's going to build some confidence, and I think that's pretty big for Wesley when he's playing a guy like Magnus, who has, he's never beaten in some formats and just has a negative score against.
Right. Well, playing fast here to start this next game, we see Wesley with 5 minutes and 6 seconds, everybody. More time than he started with. But and so as the match goes on, you think that that's partly why you might play on games like that. Just the fact that you psychologically get used to looking at a board where you have an advantage against Magnus Carlsen, right, the world champion. And that's something Wesley's going to need in his favor as the gloves come off here today.
Oh, for sure. It would have been useful for me. I stopped getting good positions at a certain point, and Magnus, he really starts finding his rhythm, and so you got to try to stop him there, tire him out, get those good, good end games. I agree with the choice. I understand why he's doing it.
All right. Well, now we have this knight on e5, and probably a little bit of an edge for white here. This is sort of a typical kind of whatever this was, a Larsen knight f3 b3. We saw Hikaru Nakamura use this opening a lot against Fabiano Caruana in their match. Is there something to this opening here that it maybe just a kind of comfortable blitz opening where the plans are easy for white to coordinate the knights, the moves are able, you're developing very fast. Is that one of the reasons you see this opening in blitz so often?
Yes, easy to make moves, easy to pre-move, and it doesn't matter too much what your opponent does. So you really can come up with a pretty quick start. One thing I'll say is it's also just a fun opening for black as well.
Okay.
Like these hanging pawn positions, you can play like a bit aggressively, and it's a lot harder for white to maybe find the precise positional moves that often, stifle these openings. So I think it's good for both sides. Magnus is going to have to play dynamic to justify. He's expanded a bit. Those pawns are also targets. So it's sort of, we'll see who imposes their will here, but it has some benefits.
Talk about this move f6, right? A little bit. So it obviously has the clear intention of removing the knight from such a strong square, but also a move that could eventually have some backfire capabilities with the light square. What's going on here?
Oh yeah, it was just after he took first. He wanted to create that isolated pawn, but yeah, Wesley had this c6 in between move that Magnus may have missed.
Yeah,
not entirely sure. But what I see now is just white should be positionally better, and the trade of the white's d pawn for black c pawn is a big plus for white because now white can isolate this d5 pawn.
Highlighting that line with c6, showing everybody what Wesley calculated that he would have his choice of winning the a6 or the e4 knight with queen takes d5, and so it's a very good point, Eric. So now with that transition that maybe Magnus missed when he played f6, we have this position on the board where black is clearly the one positionally worse with the d5 pawn being isolated.
Yeah, no, he's lost a lot of the dynamic possibility, like in the structure. Black's only good piece here. I shouldn't say that, but the knight on e4, you want to do something with that. You want to coordinate that. But the problem is Magnus is going to have to sit and think pretty soon here to figure out how he can avoid this momentum where white's just trying to trade everything off.
But this is a very nice idea here by Magnus. He's actually forcing the trade on c5. Not very often is a knight involved in a fork, but here the knight is attacking.
Wesley's queen is just.
What happened here? All of a sudden,
he's losing some material here. Queen a3 may work, but it looks like a move you don't want to play. You might get embarrassed on,
something like knight to d3, everybody.
Knight to d3, and then there's b4, and you're holding on, but you're not entirely sure. So, but here he's just down exchange and lost. Although this allows knight takes e7 and bishop a3. There's queen e5. Okay, so bishop a3, queen e5,
or queen e8. Okay, that also saves the exchange.
How?
Queen e5 may have been better though.
No, but this goes into the endgame with his protected passed pawn. The other line, queen e5 might have been better. But this is also a really comfortable endgame just because he's got that protected passed pawn.
Right.
I think problem with rook b8 here is maybe rook d1 is a little too quick. So I think white can win the b file first. But yeah, Magnus, if he played queen e5, may have just been winning on the spot.
That's super interesting there. I mean, it felt like f6 has played, and Wesley finds this nice little trick to create an isolated queen pawn, but then immediately overplays his hand on the queen side, Eric, and gets his own queen trap. That's got to be disappointing there.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think he was quite comfortable with his position and just completely missed that idea. This game has, we're seeing the players still get into the rhythm. There's been a few inaccuracies, but that's obviously going to happen.
Well,
Black here for his part, yeah, he's maximizing the king. I'm not sure about a move like rook b7. Yeah, rook b7, I'm not sure how he's planning to deal with it. But his idea is he doesn't mind giving up pawns, Danny. He needs his rook on b2.
yeah.
So he'd love for white to take on h7 and play rook b2 and use that active king, active c pawn, and rook to generate a lot of counterplay in white's queen side.
Yeah. Showing that line for the fans there, because I think it's an instructional moment to remind them that active rooks are often worth a pawn in the endgames, right? The Dvoretsky theory. You'd rather have the more active king and the more active rook than a pawn. And Wesley knows that too, though, which is why he didn't just go take h7 and allow that rook b8 idea. And now he may be able to win the c pawn with rook c7 check and take c4, even though that allows a move like rook e2. So sort of a lot to think about here, which is why Wesley's taking a moment.
Yeah, rook endgames. These are very tough to evaluate. He can win the c pawn. He allows rook e2. I don't think you want to allow rook e2. That's all. I think a draw, if you can get a draw, is good.